My dad whispered, "Your sister always pays. Just act desperate." I was in the hallway, smiled, walked upstairs, and changed all my passwords. Then came the cease and desist. Imagine waking up in the dead of night, your own childhood bedroom suddenly feeling like a gilded cage, only to overhear the two people who raised you plotting to financially ruin you. My heart pounded, a frantic drum against my ribs, as I realized the shocking truth. My own family was planning to steal my future, using me as their personal ATM. It was 1:17 a.m., the angry red numbers on the digital clock glaring back at me. My throat was dry, scratchy. I was back in my childhood bedroom, the walls still that soft yellow from my teenage years, curled up in a twin bed that now felt laughably small for my adult frame. Mom's birthday dinner had been exactly what you'd expect, an expensive restaurant, forced smiles, and Camden being, well, Camden. Just another perfectly curated family gathering in Oak Ridge, at least on the surface. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, wincing as a familiar floorboard creaked underfoot. Even after all these years, I still remembered which spots to avoid. Some childhood lessons just stick with you forever. The hallway was dark, except for a sliver of golden light spilling from beneath Dad's study door. That was weird. Dad never stays up this late, especially not after 3 glasses of his favorite bourbon. I paused, my bare feet cold against the wood, as hushed voices reached me. Dad's deep baritone, then Camden's higher, more desperate tone. "Don't worry, your sister will cover it all." My father's words stopped me cold, one foot literally hovering in midair. But what if she asks questions about the $65,000 loan? Camden sounded panicked, his voice cracking just like it used to when he got caught sneaking cookies. I froze. My heart hammered so violently, I was sure they could hear it through the door. $65,000? My hand gripped the banister, knuckles white. "Charity trusts us," Dad said, his voice instantly taking on that smooth, confident tone he used when closing big deals at the car dealership. "She won't question it if we tell her it's for a family investment opportunity." I leaned closer, barely breathing. This was sickening. "Look, Camden, it's simple. She takes out the loan in her name. We promise her 12% returns, and by the time she realizes anything, we'll have figured something out." Camden sighed. "But the crypto margin calls are $23,000, and the sports betting is another $19,000. Plus the credit cards, $20,500. $62,500. "I know the numbers, son," Dad finished for him. "That's what family is for. Your sister has excellent credit. She can handle this temporary setback." Temporary setback. My stomach lurched so violently I had to press my hand against my mouth to stifle a gasp. $62,500. More than my annual take-home pay. But what if? Camden started again. "Enough." Dad's voice turned sharp, cutting through the silence. "Your sister will do this. She always does what's right for this family." I backed away from the door, careful to avoid the creaky spots, though my legs felt like jelly. The cool water I'd come downstairs for was completely forgotten. I crept back to my bedroom, closing the door silently, and sank onto the edge of my bed. My mind raced, flashing back to dinner at Marcelino's earlier that night, the town's most expensive restaurant. Mom had insisted on celebrating her 56th birthday somewhere special. Dad ordered the $120 bottle of wine while Camden regaled us with his latest business venture, something about blockchain technology and passive income streams. "Camden has such an entrepreneurial spirit," Mom had gushed, squeezing his arm. 5 years in, and he's still finding his way, but when he hits, he'll hit big. I'd smiled and nodded, just like always. Then the bill came. $287 plus tip. I'd reached for it automatically. Camden patted his pockets theatrically. "Man, I'm so broke right now, but I've got you covered next time, sis." Next time. There had been so many next times over the years. Suddenly, the pattern came into sharp, horrifying focus. The family emergency last year that needed $3,000. The time Camden's car broke down and needed $2,200 in repairs. Dad's temporary cash flow issue at the dealership that had me transferring $5,000 from my savings. I'd been their personal ATM for years, and now they wanted the ultimate withdrawal. My hands shook as I locked my bedroom door. I grabbed my laptop from my overnight bag and powered it up, immediately checking my credit report. A wave of relief washed over me. Nothing unusual yet. They hadn't made their move. Not yet. I called Chloe, not caring what time it was. Char. Her voice was thick with sleep. It's almost 2 in the morning. What's wrong? They want to steal my identity, I whispered, terrified they might hear me through the walls. My own family is planning to use me for a loan they have no intention of repaying. What? Who? Your parents. Chloe's voice sharpened instantly, sleep falling away. Dad and Camden. I just overheard them. They need $65,000 to cover Camden's debts. Those manipulative bastards, Chloe hissed. What are you going to do? I stared at the ceiling, watching the shadows dance across the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck there when I was 12. They'd faded now, barely visible even in the darkness. I won't let them turn me into their ATM, I said, the words giving me a strange, defiant strength as they left my mouth. Not anymore. I opened a new document on my laptop and titled it, starkly, Financial Self-Defense. As the first gray light of dawn filtered through my curtains, I created a checklist of everything I needed to do to protect myself. First item. Pretend I heard nothing until I could get back to Chicago. Second item. Freeze my credit at all 3 bureaus immediately. Third item. Change all my passwords. The list grew longer as the sky brightened outside my window. By the time I heard movement in the hallway, Mom getting up to make her signature birthday weekend pancakes, I had a plan. They had raised me to be responsible, reliable Charity. The one who always did the right thing, who never rocked the boat. But they never expected me to use those same traits against them. What would you do if you caught your family plotting to use you as their personal ATM? For me, the answer was suddenly crystal clear. I was shutting down this bank. Permanently. Morning sunlight sliced through the curtains as I forced myself downstairs for breakfast, my stomach a tight knot of anxiety. Dad sat at the head of the table, engrossed in the business section, while Mom flipped pancakes with practiced ease. Camden hadn't surfaced yet, probably sleeping off last night's bourbon. Morning, honey, Mom chirped, sliding a plate of fluffy pancakes in front of me. Sleep well. I managed a smile that felt like plastic stretching across my face. Fine, thanks. Every nerve in my body screamed to confront them, to rip off the facade, but I remembered item 1 on my checklist. Pretend I heard nothing until I can get back to Chicago. Dad looked up from his paper. Your brother might need some help with his new venture. Something about blockchain technology. Sounds promising. The casual way he said it, like he hadn't been plotting financial sabotage just hours ago, made my coffee taste like battery acid. Interesting, I muttered, focusing on cutting my pancake into perfect squares. Mom refilled Dad's coffee. He just needs a little startup capital. You know how these things work. I bet she does. I need to print some work documents before heading back, I said, abruptly changing the subject. Mind if I use your printer? Dad waved a dismissive hand. Help yourself. In his home office, I sat at his desk, the very room where last night's betrayal had been orchestrated. The printer tray held several pages. Camden's credit card statements. My brother, always careless. My hands shook as I flipped through them. Charges from Gucci, Nordstrom, MGM Grand Las Vegas. A $1,400 gaming system. Weekend trips I knew nothing about. All while he claimed he couldn't afford dinner last night. The statement's due date was circled in red pen, with Dad's handwriting scribbled in the margin. Char's visit. Discuss investment. I was the investment. I carefully slid the statements back exactly as I'd found them and retreated to my room. Pulling out my laptop, I logged into my bank account. The truth hit me like a physical blow. I'd been paying the family's electricity, internet, and streaming services since I started my career. Automatic payments I'd set up temporarily for years ago when Dad mentioned cash flow issues at the dealership. For years. Thousands of dollars. I grabbed my phone and called Cousin Jane. Camden in Vegas again, she answered without preamble. My stomach dropped. What do you mean again? A pause. You didn't know? He goes every other weekend. Posts about it on his private Instagram. The one your parents follow, but you don't. Private Instagram, I repeated, my voice hollow. Uncle Victor covers most of it, I think. You know how he's always been with Camden. Golden boy can do no wrong. Golden boy. Memories flooded back. Camden at 16, crashing the family car. Dad laughing it off. Boys will be boys. Me at 16, coming home 10 minutes past curfew, grounded for 2 weeks. Charity. Jane's voice pulled me back. You okay? Just thinking about patterns, I said quietly. After we hung up, I texted Chloe the latest developments. Her response was immediate. I've been saying this for years. Remember when Uncle Raymond warned you at Christmas? I did remember. Uncle Raymond cornering me in the kitchen. They're taking advantage of your success, Charity. Victor's always favored Camden. Just like his father favored him. I dismissed it as family drama. Now I recognized it as prophecy. My phone rang, Chloe again. I've been researching, she said, skipping any greeting. You need to freeze your credit immediately. TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. I'm sending links. Already on it, I told her, toggling between browser tabs. I'm filing fraud alerts too. Good. Because if they tank your credit, your whole life implodes. She was right. My Logan Square condo, purchased last year for $355,000 with a down payment that had drained my savings. My emergency fund, meticulously rebuilt to cover 8 months of expenses. My credit score of 812, achieved through years of careful financial management. All of it balanced on a knife edge. Camden crashed another car, I said, the realization hitting me. Mom mentioned it at dinner, but I didn't even think about it. They bought him a used car, $13,800. I remember because Mom called it a bargain. While you drove that ancient Honda through college, Chloe replied, and worked 3 jobs. The anger rose, hot and bitter, in my throat. Remember when he mocked my boring bank job? Said I was wasting my life while he was pursuing passive income streams. Which you're now actively funding, Chloe finished, her voice laced with fury. I paced the small bedroom, memory sharpening into excruciating clarity. Camden's disdain for my financial discipline. Dad's manipulation. Praising my responsibility while shamelessly exploiting it. The constant refrain, family helps family. But family shouldn't drain you dry. Mom knocked softly before entering with fresh towels. Everything okay, sweetie? You seem upset. I plastered on another fake smile. Just work stress, nothing to worry about. She patted my hand. You work too hard. Not like your brother, he knows how to enjoy life. The irony was so bitter, I nearly choked on it. After she left, I stared at my financial documents, at the years of sacrifice now threatened by the very people who should protect me. My emergency fund, built by bringing lunch from home when coworkers ordered takeout. My condo, secured by declining vacations and new clothes. My credit score, maintained by paying every bill on time, even when it meant eating ramen for a week. All of it at risk, because my family saw my success not as an achievement to celebrate, but as a resource to exploit. I closed my laptop, a new resolve hardening within me. The question echoed in my mind as I packed my bag to return to Chicago. At what point does helping family become enabling destruction? For me, that point was last night at 1:17 a.m., when I heard my father whisper, "Don't worry, your sister will cover it all." 2 days later, I sat cross-legged on my apartment bed in Chicago, sorting through a shoebox of old photos while my laptop booted up. Each snapshot revealed a story my younger self couldn't fully comprehend. In my favorite picture, 15-year-old me beamed with pride, clutching a spelling bee trophy. Behind that smile, though, lay exhaustion from staying up until 2 a.m. studying while Camden's video game soundtrack thumped through our shared wall. Mom had framed this photo, but kept it on the bookshelf in the spare room, never displayed with Camden's participation ribbons that dominated the living room mantel. "Second place is impressive, honey," Dad had said when I showed him the trophy. "Maybe next year you can win it all." I flipped to another photo, Camden standing beside his NBA-themed bedroom makeover, complete with a 55-inch television and custom Lakers bedspread. That same month, Mom had helped me arrange secondhand furniture in my room, explaining that girls don't need fancy things and Camden needs proper motivation to succeed. The memory burned fresh as yesterday. I tucked the photos away, pulling up my credit monitoring service instead. The freeze requests for all 3 bureaus confirmed with reassuring pings in my email. First step, complete. I remembered washing dishes after my 16th birthday dinner while Camden played video games. Just 15 more minutes, Mom always told me when I complained about the division of chores, your brother needs time to relax. My timer chimed. 7 minutes until my scheduled video call with my parents. I'd practiced what I'd say a dozen times, but my heart still hammered against my ribs. The Washington, D.C. field trip changed everything for me. While other students simply asked their parents for the $480 fee, I spent 3 months juggling shifts at the grocery store, babysitting for the Hendersons, and mowing lawns in the summer heat. When I proudly handed the money to my history teacher, he looked surprised. Most parents just write a check, he said. I smiled at the memory now. That trip showed me I could make my own way. College applications arrived senior year, and my parents sat me down for the talk. We've been saving for Camden's IT degree, Dad explained, not quite meeting my eyes. You've always been the responsible one. We know you'll figure something out. And I did. A 40% academic scholarship, 20+ hours weekly at the library and campus cafe, instant ramen for dinner more times than I care to remember. While Camden partied through his freshman year at State, I calculated my loan payments to the penny. The Chicago internship came from pure determination, 37 applications, 15 rejections, 9 ignored, and finally, Midwest Financial Partners saying yes. I slept on an air mattress in a studio apartment with 2 other interns that summer, saving every possible dollar. By 27, I'd eliminated my student loans while building an 8-month emergency fund. Every sacrifice had purpose. Every denied dinner invitation meant freedom from the financial insecurity I'd witnessed at home. Now, that hard-won freedom stood threatened by the very people who should celebrate it. The laptop screen showed my comprehensive financial self-defense checklist. Credit freeze at all 3 bureaus, check. Fraud alert placement, check. New credit cards ordered, mailing to Chicago address, check. Parents removed from all emergency contacts, check. Passwords changed across all accounts, check. 2-factor authentication enabled everywhere possible, check. All automatic family bill payments flagged for cancellation, check. Would most people confront their family immediately after discovering such betrayal, or secure their finances first? I chose security. The quiet strength of preparation felt powerful beneath my trembling hands. The video call rang. I took a deep breath and clicked accept. Dad's face appeared first, that confident smile firmly in place. Mom joined, patting her freshly styled hair. Camden slouched into view last, barely visible at the edge of the frame. "There's our girl," Dad said, his voice dripping with faux warmth. "We were just talking about you." "I'm sure you were," I replied, my voice coming out steadier than I expected. "I heard everything 2 nights ago." Dad's smile faltered. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "Your conversation with Camden in your study. About using my credit for a loan." I kept my tone clinical. Detached. "About $65,000. The specific figure landed like a slap. Dad's expression shifted from confusion to shock to calculation in seconds. "You misunderstood," he attempted, but his voice lacked conviction. "We were discussing a family investment opportunity. Something that would benefit everyone." "Stop lying." The words sliced through his excuse, sharp and precise. "I heard everything. The crypto margin calls for $23,000. The sports betting for $19,000. The credit card debt of $20,500. Mom's eyes filled with tears. "Charity. Family helps family. You know that. We raised you to understand responsibility." "Yes, you did." I met her gaze directly. "That's why I'm being responsible with my finances and my boundaries. There will be no co-signing. No loans. No transfers." Camden finally looked up, his face flushing crimson. "You've always been selfish. All that money in Chicago while your family struggles. What kind of person does that make you?" The kind who works for what she has. My voice rose, despite my efforts to stay calm. The kind who's tired of being your personal ATM. Now listen here, Dad started, leaning toward the camera. The authoritative tone that once sent me scurrying to please him now sounded hollow. No, you listen. I leaned in closer to my webcam. Any attempt to use my identity will result in a police report. I've frozen my credit at all bureaus. I'm canceling all utility payments effective immediately. I held up my phone, showing the confirmation emails from my service providers. You have 2 weeks to arrange new payment methods for electricity, internet, and streaming services. Mom gasped. You wouldn't leave us without electricity. 2 weeks is generous, I said, the words tasting bitter but necessary. And it's far more consideration than you showed me when planning to steal my identity. We weren't stealing. Camden snarled. We were borrowing. There's a difference. Not when you have no intention of repaying. I leaned closer to the camera. I found your statements in the printer yesterday morning. Designer clothes and Vegas weekends while I pay your electricity. It stops today. Dad's mask slipped completely, his face contorting into something ugly. After everything we've done for you, the sacrifices we made, what sacrifices exactly? Heat rose in my chest. My secondhand furniture while Camden got a full bedroom makeover? My 3 jobs for the Washington trip while you handed him spending money? Or maybe you mean telling me you couldn't help with college because you were saving for Camden's degree. Mom covered her face, her shoulders shaking. Camden stormed out of frame. Only Dad remained, staring at me like I'd transformed into someone unrecognizable. We're your family, he said finally, his voice lower, almost a plea. You don't turn your back on family. I'm not turning my back, I corrected him. I'm standing my ground. The distinction felt incredibly important. You raised me to be responsible. I'm simply being responsible with my boundaries. The call ended with Dad's fingers stabbing at the disconnect button. My phone immediately began vibrating with incoming texts from Camden, each one increasingly desperate, then angry. I silenced the notifications and closed my laptop. The quiet of my bedroom felt different now. No longer suffocating, but transitional. A space between who I was and who I'm becoming. Have you ever had to create hard boundaries with family? Chicago awaited me, and this time, I was choosing myself. The path to independence stretched before me, hard-won and finally clear. 3 days later, my phone vibrated for the 20th time today. Camden's name flashed on the screen again, his latest text more desperate than the last. You're killing me, Char. I'm going to lose everything. I slid the phone face down on my kitchen counter, watching Chicago's skyline through my condo windows. 3 days since the confrontation, and the fallout had been exactly what I expected and feared. The first wave came as pleading. Just this once, texts and family emergency calls. When those failed, Camden's messages darkened. You always thought you were better than us, and after everything we've done for you. Last night, he called at 2:18 a.m., slurring his words. You know what? You've always been a selfish bee. I hung up before he finished. The phone rang twice more before I muted it completely. This morning, Chloe called from her desk 3 rows away from mine. Your brother just called me, she said, her voice tight with anger. He told me you've been demanding money from your parents for years, and now they're about to lose their house because of you. My stomach dropped as heat rushed to my face. He called you at work? On my personal cell? Her voice lowered. How did he even get my number? I closed my eyes, remembering Mom's insistence on updating her contact list during the last Christmas dinner. My mother. The harassment escalated with military precision. Dad called my division manager to discuss my concerning mental health issues. My mother posted vague Facebook updates about ungrateful children that triggered a cascade of supportive comments from hometown friends who didn't know the whole story. Then Aunt Martha arrived. The text from Jane arrived as a stark warning. Martha's been summoned to Chicago. Victor bought her ticket. Aunt Martha, Dad's older sister, called from O'Hare. Your father says you're having a breakdown. I'm coming to talk some sense into you. I'm not home, I lied, watching a pigeon land on my balcony railing. I'm actually leaving for a business trip. Charity Elizabeth Carter, I changed your diapers. Don't you lie to me. The professional in me, the one who analyzes risk for a living, knew exactly what was happening. Every action targeted my reputation, my stability, my resolve. They were executing a hostile takeover of my sanity. So I responded with a strategy of my own. First, documentation. Every text, every voicemail, every social media post saved and timestamped. The recording of Dad and Camden's late-night planning sessions safely uploaded to the cloud. Second, boundaries. Email filters directed family messages to a separate folder I checked only once daily at 5 p.m., with Chloe beside me for moral support. Phone calls went straight to voicemail. Third, reinforcements. I met with Marissa, the financial advisor who helped me buy my condo. They can't touch your assets without your signature, she assured me, reviewing my accounts. But I'd recommend closing any joint accounts immediately. There aren't any, I told her. I made sure of that years ago. She raised an eyebrow, impressed. Smart woman. The therapist came next. Dr. Walsh specialized in family financial abuse, a term I'd never heard before, but which described my situation with uncomfortable accuracy. What you're experiencing is surprisingly common, she said, her office walls lined with degrees and certifications. Financial exploitation often comes from those closest to us. The hardest part is the community reaction, I admitted. My hometown thinks I'm the villain. Back home, my phone pinged with updates from Jane, my one remaining family ally in Oak Ridge. Everyone's talking, she wrote. Camden's telling people you're hoarding family money. The town where I grew up, where I babysat for neighbors and delivered newspapers, now buzzed with stories about heartless charity, too rich and selfish to help her struggling family. But not everyone believed it. Uncle Raymond, Dad's younger brother, called unexpectedly. Victor has always played favorites, he said, his voice gravelly from decades of smoking. I told him years ago it would backfire. You hold your ground, Charity. The first signs of victory emerged in week 2. Jane reported Camden taking a morning shift at the gas station and evening hours at the pizza place. Dad and Mom suddenly canceled their anniversary cruise, citing unexpected expenses. The gossip shifted as Camden's habits became impossible to hide. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was Becky Miller, Camden's high school girlfriend. I believe you. Her message read. He tried the same thing with me last year, almost tanked my credit score before I caught on. Each boundary I maintained strengthened the next. Each day without contact built my resolve. The pressure remained relentless. The calls, the rumors, the guilt, but something had shifted within me. I stood at my window, watching the sunset paint Chicago's buildings in orange and gold. Dr. Walsh's words echoed in my mind. Sometimes standing your ground feels lonely before it feels right. For the first time in weeks, I breathed deeply without my chest tightening. The guilt hadn't disappeared, but it was quieter now, easier to recognize as the manufactured emotion it always was. My family crafted me to be their safety net, their bailout plan, their personal ATM. But what they never understood was that the same responsibility they instilled in me would eventually become the very thing they couldn't overcome. I picked up my phone and blocked Camden's newest number. Tonight, I'd sleep without waiting for the midnight call. Tomorrow, I'd go to work without scanning for family ambushes. This battle isn't over, but for the first time, I'm winning. The pastor's voice oozed sympathy through my phone speaker. Charity, we're all worried about your spiritual welfare. Family is God's greatest gift. I closed my eyes, counting silently to 10 while sitting at my kitchen counter, 1 month since I confronted them, for weeks of escalating desperation from my family. Pastor Williams, I said, keeping my voice steady. Did my father mention the identity theft they were planning, or did he just tell you I abandoned them? The pause told me everything. Well, Victor simply expressed concern about financial hardship. Interesting. I traced a circle on my countertop. Did he share that Camden lost $23,000 on cryptocurrency margin calls or $19,000 on sports betting? Another long pause. I should probably speak with your father again. After hanging up, I added the call to my documentation spreadsheet, the 14th manipulation attempt since drawing my line in the sand. First came the daily texts and calls. Then the social media posts about ungrateful children. Now they were mobilizing the community. The doorman buzzed. "Miss Carter, your brother's here insisting on seeing you." My stomach dropped. "I'm not expecting him. He says it's a family emergency." Seems pretty upset. Family emergency. Their favorite phrase when needing money. "Please tell him I'm unavailable, Frank. And if he refuses to leave, call security." I was still shaking when my phone pinged with an email notification. From Dad's account. With the subject line, "Legal action for family support." The message contained a single PDF attachment, a poorly formatted letter threatening to sue me for filial responsibility and family support payments. No lawyer would draft something so amateurish, but the implied threat still made my throat tighten. My phone buzzed again. Mom's number. Against my better judgment, I listened to the voicemail. "Charity, honey." Her voice broke. "They're shutting off our electricity tomorrow. It's freezing here. Your father says it's your fault because you canceled the automatic payments." A theatrical sob. "We raised you better than this." I stood at my window overlooking Chicago, watching people 16 floors below hurry through their lives. They had no idea how quiet betrayal could be, how it whispers from the people who should protect you most. My doorbell rang, the internal one. I checked the peephole to see Camden, somehow having talked his way past Frank. "I know you're in there," he shouted, pounding on the door. "You can't hide forever." I pressed my back against the wall, heart racing. "I've called security, Camden. You need to leave. After everything we've done for you," his words slurred slightly. He'd been drinking. "One loan, that's all we needed." The elevator dinged, followed by the steady footsteps of the building security guards. Their voices were firm but professional as they escorted my brother away. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on my hardwood floor, hugging my knees like I used to as a child when hiding from Camden's tantrums. But I wasn't a child anymore, and I was done hiding. The next morning, I met with Sarah, my attorney, in her downtown office. The leather portfolio in my lap contained everything. Printed emails, text screenshots, voicemails transcribed, and the recording from that night, the smoking gun of their betrayal. "They're escalating," Sarah said, reviewing the documents. "Your brother showing up at your workplace yesterday crossed a line." I nodded, remembering the humiliation of Camden screaming in our reception area before security removed him. My coworkers' sideways glances. The whispers. "It's time for the cease and desist," I told her, my voice firm. "And I want to include the evidence." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "All of it? That's nuclear." "The recording especially. They've left me no choice." My voice didn't waver. "I've tried reasonable. I've tried distance. They're destroying what little reputation I have left in Oak Ridge." 2 days later, Sarah sent the package certified mail, requiring signatures, a comprehensive cease and desist letter alongside a timeline documenting their financial manipulation, and a USB drive containing the recording of that night. The explosion came faster than expected. Dad called within hours. "How dare you?" he roared when I answered. "After all we've done for you, we gave you everything." "You gave Camden everything," I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "You taught me to work for what I wanted. Now I'm protecting what I earned." "We're your family." "Family doesn't plan identity theft over bourbon at 1 in the morning." His breathing changed. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You and Camden dug this hole. I'm not jumping in to save you." Mom called next, her anger less controlled than Dad's. "Why should you have more than your brother?" she demanded. "What makes you so special?" The question stunned me with its naked honesty. All these years, I thought they favored Camden because he needed more help. Now I understood the truth. They resented my success. "I'm not special, Mom. I just worked harder and made different choices." Uncle Raymond called the following day. "It's like a bomb went off," he said. Victor showed up at church looking like he'd seen a ghost. The recording, Charity. They needed to hear themselves. "The whole family's talking." He chuckled. Cousin Jane told me Martha even piped up at the potluck when Aunt Martha started defending Camden. Martha hasn't been that quiet since her gallbladder surgery. 2 weeks passed. Reports filtered in through the family grapevine. Camden's credit had officially collapsed. All cards closed. Personal loan applications denied. Dad pulled money from his retirement account, triggering hefty penalties. The family home, paid off when I was in high school, now carried a mortgage again. Meanwhile, my credit score remained untouched. My savings intact. My boundaries firm as steel. The final email came from Camden. No demands. No accusations. Just these words. You were right. I'm sorry. He mentioned a debt repayment plan and alcohol counseling. No pressure for immediate contact. Just an open door if I ever wanted to walk through it. I crafted a careful response. Thank you. I need time. Boundary stay. Our quarterly check-ins remain strictly financial updates with no money changing hands. It's not forgiveness, exactly, but it's something close to peace. Standing in my apartment, surrounded by the life I built through discipline and sacrifice, I wondered, would they have ever learned if I hadn't forced them to face reality? Or would they have continued draining me dry while telling themselves they deserved every dollar? The answer, like the boundaries I've drawn, was perfectly clear. The Colorado mountains rise like a fortress around my Denver balcony, offering a quiet protection I never found within the walls of my parents' home. 8 months have passed since I left Illinois, and the distance feels like so much more than just miles. My real estate agent called yesterday with the final numbers. Your Chicago condo sold for $383,400. After closing costs and your mortgage payoff, you're clearing $28,400 in profit. The money sits in my account now untouched. Unlike previous windfalls that would have been earmarked for family emergencies before they even arrived, this belongs solely to me. My phone buzzes with a text from Valerie, a woman I met through my support group for adults with toxic family relationships. Still on for hiking tomorrow? Weather looks perfect. I smile as I type back. Absolutely. Need a break in my new boots. These are my people now, friends who understand boundaries, who give without keeping score, who celebrate my successes without demanding a cut. Tuesday evenings, I meet with Dr. Winters, a therapist who specializes in trauma. Do you still check your credit report daily? She asked during our last session. Weekly now, I admitted, feeling my shoulders relax. Progress, right? She nodded, her eyes crinkling. Substantial progress. And the nightmares about identity theft? Gone, though I still keep all my financial documents in a fireproof safe. Some habits serve us well, she said. The question is whether they're driven by fear or prudence. That distinction has become my touchstone. Am I saying no because I'm afraid or because it's the right boundary to set? Am I saving because I fear catastrophe or because I value security? Today marks another milestone, my first financial literacy workshop as a volunteer instructor. The community center bustles with activity as I arrange handouts on tables. 20 people filter in, most older than me, their faces etched with worry lines I recognize all too well. I'm not a financial advisor, I begin. I'm just someone who learned financial independence the hard way. For 90 minutes, I explain credit scores, emergency funds, and predatory lending. The participants nod, take notes, ask questions. But it's the young woman in the back row who stops me in my tracks. If my parents owe on a credit card, she asks, her voice barely above a whisper, do I have to pay it back when they can't? The room falls silent. My throat tightens as I see my younger self in her downcast eyes. No, I answer firmly. Whoever's name is on the account is responsible. Your job is to protect yourself. Her shoulders drop an inch, relief washing over her face. I recognize that feeling, the weight lifting when you realize you aren't legally bound to someone else's financial chaos. After class, she approaches with a tentative smile. Thanks. My dad keeps saying it'll ruin the family if I don't help. I hand her my card. Family isn't supposed to compromise your future. Call me if you need to talk. 2 days later, an unexpected email arrives from Camden. No demands, no manipulation, just 12 sentences that begin with, I'm sorry, and end with, I'm in therapy now and working 2 jobs to pay back what I owe. He mentions a debt repayment plan and alcohol counseling. No pressure for immediate contact, just an open door if I ever want to walk through it. I craft a careful response. Thank you. I need time. Boundaries stay. Our quarterly check-ins remain strictly financial updates with no money changing hands. It's not forgiveness, exactly, but it's something close to peace. The afternoon sun warms my face as I unfold a handwritten note delivered to the community center yesterday. The young woman from my workshop writes, "I froze my credit and told my parents no. It was the hardest and best thing I've ever done." I trace her words with my fingertip, whispering the truth it took me 3 decades to learn. Protecting your wallet is the first step to protecting your heart. Looking out at the mountains, I finally understand. I'm not just free from my family's financial exploitation. I'm free to become the person I was always meant to be.